Hello and welcome back to you. My name is Elizabeth, and today, and hopefully in the next coming days, I will be back to working on my novel. Alright, so what happened was, a long time ago, I got a realization for a little bit of world building that the book needed back in scene 10. And so what happened was, I went in there and I wrote a one-sentence summary of what was going to be needed in scene 10 for this important piece of world building, and then I froze for literally a month. I don't know what happened. I mean, like every few days I would open my laptop and I would look at scene 10 where I had written that summary and I was like, the sentence! And then I would just give up and I wouldn't write. I haven't written in this story for literally 1 month. Why does this happen? I don't know. Something, strikes a little chord of terror and then I can't work beyond that for like a heck of a long time. So yesterday, without the pressure of vlogging, I was like, let's just try again, like I've been doing. I looked inside my laptop, I saw the sentence, but rather than rather than letting the terror overcome me, I thought, let's just hack away at this and see what happens. So, yesterday I ended up adding 750 words to scene 10 to flesh out the sentence. And now it's done. It took me less than 1 day. Why was that so hard to do? Why did it fill me with terror for a month? I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't know. In the last few weeks, I have been doing all of the things I've told you before to try to do, to get back in the writing mood after a prolonged, bout of terror. I was reading unrelated books, just good books, new books that I hadn't read before. I read a couple of craft books, writing craft books. I was watching writing vlogs on YouTube. I was watching film criticism videos on YouTube. All of the things that I know fill me with the desire to write. I've been doing that slowly over the last couple of weeks in order to build up to yesterday when I finally was able to write. And I finished that scene less than a day. Why did it fill me with so much terror? We don't know. But, so, now, okay. I realized yesterday that one of the things that was holding me back was when I put that little bit of world building in there, a little tingling went off in my brain where I realized I was going to need to reorder these scenes, like scenes 10 through 15. The scene order, I haven't gotten it all figured out yet. I mean, I knew the scene order was going to be a problem, but it's a problem. So, this morning, I went back in and I reordered scenes 10 through 15. Don't know if that's going to be the final order. I've given up trying to find the final order right now. There's no need for me to. It's draft 2. I can finagle scene order all I want in the next few drafts. And because of that, I also was not making myself fix all the connective tissue between the scenes after I reordered them. I was just like, you know what? Connective tissue can be part of draft 3. It's fine. We're just trying to keep moving. My whole goal right now is to just, get back into the story. Just keep writing. So, 750 words in scene 10 yesterday. Reorganize scenes 10 through 15 this morning. Not worrying about connective tissue. And now we are back to scene 15 to begin again. I mean, I guess, I don't know. That's what we're going to try to do. May the force be with me, I guess, because I'm going to need it. I forgot one major thing I did yesterday, which really helped me get into the scene again and not just be filled with terror and frozen, was I wrote down in my notebook about like 8 or 9 of the primary characters in the book, and then I went through and I listed 3 or 4 primary personality traits that each character has. A combination of negative and positive personality traits for each character. I found this list of like a gazillion personality traits. I can link it down below. It's not my list. I just found it online. And it was very helpful. So I went through, I wrote all the names, I read the list a bunch of times, it took a while, and then I gave each character, I listed what their primary personality traits are, both positive and negative. So I could know like what to highlight, I guess, in the scenes that those characters are in. And it was very, very helpful. It was very, very helpful for several reasons, but one of them being the characters feel more alive in my head now, and also when I'm writing them in the scenes, I'm not just playing with a gazillion stock characters. They all now have like primary personality traits I can draw from. I'm just making it sound like in the first draft nobody had a personality, or they all have the same personality. That's not true, but it's just easier, you know, if you're articulating it to yourself. If you got it all written out, it's less muddied when you're trying to draw on those traits in a scene. I don't know, it helped me, so I did that yesterday. I started to use this book, very, very helpful book, The Emotion Thesaurus by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi. No idea how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. But I started to go through and write down their standard emotions that they tend to like fall back on during scenes. And I did that for a couple of the characters, but then I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it, so I didn't do that for all of the characters. And then I was relying on their primary personality traits, which was very, very helpful. I think doing this, giving them, like listing out the emotions that they tend to resort to, you know, in that little notebook might be very helpful, but, you know, that might be an exercise for today or tomorrow, because yesterday, the personality traits is what I really needed to be able to get myself back into the story. So that was one thing I did yesterday, and it was very, very helpful. Hopefully, you know, yesterday wasn't just a one-off, and I'll be able to actually get back into the story today. Alright, I keep filming this segment, but for some reason my camera's not getting it. I think I might be pressing the wrong buttons. But hopefully we are filming now. Okay, so what I have said 3 times now is yesterday, one of the things I started doing to help me write my book is I allowed myself to begin pacing again. For the first several books that I wrote, probably most of my books, I paced a whole bunch back and forth when I'm thinking about the book because it really helps me think. It helps the story come to me. A lot of writers walk, you know, take walks. Walking is fine. I enjoy the walks sometimes, but it's not the same. There's something mindless about pacing. Your body's moving, the story's churning, and you don't have to worry about running into cars or anything like that. So, you know, but then a lot of times also I try to make myself not be pacing because I think, what if somebody sees me and pacing is weird? But oh well, I gotta do what I gotta do to finish the book, and if I want to finish the book, pacing is what I'm gonna have to do. So, I've allowed myself to be pacing. That's what I'm doing. It's bringing the stories to the surface. Maybe you should try it so that I'm not there. But pacing helps, I promise. You should give it a go. Part of my problem has been, after all of my scene reorganizing, I'm now left at the bottom of those 5 or so scenes that I kept moving around with a bunch of just random connective tissue bits that no longer fit, and they're all just kind of bunched together now in a big bunch of connective tissue that are not connecting anything, but I can't just erase them all because they also have like little bits of important information that the story needs. So now the place I'm at in the document looks really messy because it's literally just a bunch of little pieces that don't go together and don't form a scene, and I'm not sure what to do, and I think I should just kind of skip it maybe and like just keep moving on with the scenes and worry about it later because I can't get stuck for a month every time I get stuck. So I'm not sure what to do. I know I just have to power through, but it's overwhelming every time I look at it. For some reason, you know, I get stuck. Like the last time I had this 1-sentence summary of what the scene needed, and every time I looked at it, I got stuck, and I was stuck for like a month. So now I have all these little tidbits that don't go together, but I can't get rid of them because I need some of that information. And every time I look at it, I get overwhelmed, and I don't know what to do. But I can't be stuck for a month, so maybe I'll try to skip it, or I don't know. I just don't. So I was able to delete 2 of the floating connective tissue segments that I now have conglomerated at the bottom of my 5 scenes that I keep switching around their order. The other ones have some little bit of information that the story will need, so they're just gonna have to keep floating there. The 2 I erased I felt good about. I didn't need them, so I erased them. Also, because I split scene 10 in half, the old scene that I was calling scene 15 is now scene 16, and I have not yet reached it, because I'm currently on scene 15. If that makes sense. You know, I haven't really added a whole bunch of anything, but because I split that one scene in half, it became 2 scenes, and then I reorganized everything, and so now the old scene that I was calling scene 15 is now scene 16. Haven't reached it yet, still on scene 15, but it's a new scene now. A different scene. Not new, but different.
Alright, so I decided I did not like the scene I had at scene 15, so I bumped that out to deal with in the future, and now I have the old scene 15 back in the place of scene 15. This guy is making it boring.
Alright, it is the next day. So I ended up splitting another one of the scenes between scenes 10 and 15 in half, and the second half I'm not sure what to do with it, so it's just gonna float in the future for a little while. Scene 15 is the same scene 15 it has always been, but scene 15 and the next 4 or 5 scenes are significantly different than the previous 4 or 5 scenes, and I've been kind of hoping that that would mean it was like easier to write, because they're very different scenes, you know, so I'm like not just like trudging along writing the same thing that has been causing me to get stuck so much. But it's so far not working, because every time I now look at scene 15, I feel all the resistance and the terror, and I have not been able to work on them. Like I open my document, I stare at them, and I get scared. So hopefully I don't spend another month frozen in terror before these next 4 or 5 scenes. I feel like these next 4 or 5 scenes should be easier to write than the previous 4 or 5 scenes, because A, their order is pretty much solidified. B, they're very, very different, so it's like a whole new type of thing to be writing. But alas, that does not seem to be working. My brain is still saying, don't do it, you're a terrible writer, it'll never work out. So I'm hoping I won't be frozen for a month, but we shall see. Stay tuned.